We have The Clue of the Tapping Heels. We are on chapter 13, Empty. Gently, the women turned over the man onto his back. Nancy and the others gasped. "He's Fred Bunce!" Bess exclaimed. "Oh, I hope he's not badly hurt." "We'd better call Mrs. Bunce," Nancy said at once. She hurried to the back door and rang the bell. There was no answer, and Nancy began to worry that something might have happened to Mrs. Bunce also. But perhaps she's only a heavy sleeper, Nancy told herself, and pounded more loudly than before. In a moment, Mrs. Bunce looked out the second-floor window. "Who's there?" she asked. "What's the idea of waking people in the middle of the night?" Quickly, Nancy explained about her husband. The woman gasped and said she would be right down. When she saw Mr. Bunce lying in the driveway, she began to cry loudly and wring her hands. "Oh, he's dead! Somebody's killed him!" she shrieked. Hannah Gruen spoke up. "Your husband isn't dead. He's just unconscious. I think we'd better carry him into the house, and if he doesn't revive soon, we'll call a doctor." In the meantime, Mrs. Beeling had made a cursory examination and said that the victim had a swelling on the back of his head. "He either fell or something hit him," she declared. To herself, Nancy said, "Or somebody hit him." She noticed that Mr. Bunce was fully dressed. Had he just been out and just returning to his home? And why, thought Nancy, is he in Mrs. Carter's driveway? As Bess and George carried the unconscious man into the Bunces' living room and laid him on the couch, Nancy said to his wife, "I'm sure your husband will be all right. Tell me, why did he go outside?" I don't know. He went to bed when I did, and I didn't hear him get up." "What was his reason for getting fully dressed?" Nancy asked herself. Mrs. Beeling and Hannah Gruen gave the man first aid, while his wife paced up and down the living room, muttering to herself and sobbing. "Do you want to call your doctor?" Nancy said, "or would you rather have us take your husband to the hospital?" "Oh, no, not yet," the woman replied quickly. "He seems to be coming around." In a few minutes, Mr. Bunce revived. He looked at his audience rather bleary-eyed. Then, as his vision cleared, he frowned deeply. "How did I get here?" he asked, staring into the faces of his neighbors. Nancy explained about the girls finding him unconscious in the driveway. "What happened to you?" she asked. "I got hit on the head." "By whom?" "I don't know," Mr. Bunce answered. "Someone came up behind me. I'm all right now, and I've got a headache. I'll thank all of you to go." "We will," Nancy replied. "But before we leave, will you tell us if you have any idea who hit you?" "Yes, I have," Bunce answered. "The cat thief. I couldn't sleep, so I decided to go for a walk. I got dressed and went outside. The fellow must have been hiding somewhere around. I heard scuffling in your driveway, and thought I'd investigate. The next thing I knew, wham!" Mrs. Beeling spoke up. "Mr. Bunce, are you sure everything will be all right? One of us will be glad to stay here with you if you think it's necessary." Fred Bunce answered, "No, no, you all go back to your house. My wife and I will be all right." Nancy was the last to leave. As she was going out the kitchen door, Mrs. Bunce stopped her and said, "You've asked us so many questions. I have one for you. Why were you all out in the yard?" Nancy decided not to give the whole reason. "We couldn't sleep either," she said. "Aren't you glad we found your husband?" "Oh, yes, of course," Mrs. Bunce said, and closed the door. When the visitors reached their own house, George remarked, "Neither of the Bunces sound very grateful for what we did." "They certainly didn't," Bess agreed. "The two of them acted as if they wanted to get rid of us as soon as possible. Nancy, you're always discovering clues. Did you see anything over there that was suspicious?" Nancy laughed. "Not a thing." Hannah Gruen asked Nancy if she thought Bunce had been attacked by the cat thief. "Possibly, or even by the tapper. What I can't figure out is why Mr. Bunce was all dressed. It almost seems as if he planned to go somewhere, but was stopped in his tracks." George suddenly exclaimed, "We never checked on the cats. We'd better find out if any more have been stolen." "Oh, I hope not," said Bess. The girls went outside and unlocked the garage. They counted the cats. All were still there. Good, Bess said, relieved. Miss Carter would really be heartbroken if any more were taken. The girls went back to bed, and this time Nancy fell asleep. In the morning, she told Miss Carter that the mysterious visitor had tapped out a message to her. He dared me to find him. When I asked if he was Gus Woonton, he didn't reply, not even when I told him I had some valuable information for him. Which seems to prove, Miss Carter said, that the tapper isn't Gus Woonton after all. Nancy could not agree. She decided to call the Beverly, where Gus had been a patient, and see if by any chance he had learned Morse code. She phoned and identified herself, then said she might have a clue to Gus Woonton's whereabouts. Mr. Pratt, the director, said that he did not know if Gus knew Morse code, but would find out. He suggested that Nancy call back later in the day. "Tell me," said Nancy, "what your opinion is of Gus Woonton. Would he be bright enough to learn the code and use it?"
"Oh yes, I'd say Gus is too bright. This is why he's restless and uncontrollable. When he became angry, his emotional instability came out. He would do all sorts of strange things. Well, Miss Drew, I'll wait for your call."
Mr. Pratt said goodbye and hung up. Nancy reported this latest bit of information to Bess and George. "Then I'll bet," said George, "that Gus Woonton is smart enough to have figured out a secret way to get into the house." Bess nodded. "Maybe somebody drops him from a helicopter and he comes down the chimney like Santa Claus." The girls grinned. "It's possible," Nancy remarked, "that the answer lies in the secret room. It took us a long time to find that panel that opened into it. Let's search again and try harder to find an exit. We must check on that beam that I thought moved. Come on." The three girls hurried to the basement. First, they pushed the ceiling beam sideways, hoping it might move something that would prove to be an opening. But nothing was revealed. Next, Nancy opened the secret panel. They switched on the lights and let their eyes roam over the bedroom. "Maybe the diary has been brought back here," Bess suggested. Nancy took the key, still on its ribbon around her neck, and unlocked the cupboard. It was empty. "Oh!" Bess cried out. "That mysterious person took every letter and paper that was here. There was so much he must have had a big sack or a suitcase to put it all in."
"Which means," George said, "that he couldn't get out of a small space. If we find another opening, it would have to be a good-sized one."
Bess remarked. "The person who took the letters and papers must have thought them pretty important to take them away. Nancy, do you think it was because of us?"
"Yes, I do," Nancy answered. "It would have taken us a long time to look through everything.
I have an idea that the tapper has been watching us and knew we hadn't had a chance yet to read every paper." Bess sighed. "And maybe there was some very valuable information in the papers to help us solve the mystery." Nancy chided herself for not taking time before this to examine the contents of the cupboard. But she decided there was no use dwelling on this now. The girls had come down here to find a possible secret exit. George, meanwhile, was running a hand along the shelves of the cupboard and the walls back of them.
"I thought maybe there might be a spring that would turn this cupboard away from the wall and reveal a way out of here."
She found nothing and now stood on a chair so she could reach way back into the corners. "This is deep," she said. "Maybe there's a hidden exit?" The next second, the excitement on her face changed to an expression of pain. "Oh!" George cried out. That's the end of chapter 13. We'll have to